the Dave Chappelle skit has never gone away. We talked about 𝐷𝗛𝗏. We're not talking about anybody else in that group.
That's more audio I want to pull up. Let's talk about 𝐷𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏. Now y'all know who this is because I said the name. I should have said it 5 times because that's usually how it went.
Top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
Alive.
You know 𝐷𝗏𝗏 from Making the Band. We all know. We watched the show. I'm not gonna cap. I watched it. But there's a video.
That was an important time in pop culture.
Yeah,
it was.
I watched every episode of that show.
I'm not gonna cap because I watched it. But 𝐷𝗏𝗏, I want to see if you guys think he has a point or not because he's talking about DJs turning down his music because of people laughing at him. And the Chappelle skit. You remember Chappelle had the skit where he was doing the 𝐷𝗏𝗏? We all know about that.
Because he spit hot fire.
He says that actually ended up affecting his career when he would submit music to DJs.
Sam, the top 5 rappers are 𝐷𝗏𝗏. But this is something that I didn't say at all. But right after, anytime I send my music to DJs, they say, oh, that's the that David Chappelle made fun of. Now I'm good on that. Not only that, but every promoter says, nah, we're not booking him. So now I have a newborn and the fridge is empty. No one is calling me. Everyone is laughing. At that time, no one picked up their phone. Not a one label. That joke took over.
That joke burned your career.
The joke actually burned it.
He sound like Safari. You know,
no, literally sound just like Safari.
So with that being said, you guys obviously heard. Sound like he was serious to me.
Well, I mean,
you know, like I don't think he was playing around when he said that. But what do you think about that? Could that skit be that impactful for people to not take him serious?
You got to think about the time. And he was actually on the Chappelle Show.
No, see, that's the thing. He wasn't.
No, they did. He wasn't in that skit, but they did a Making the Band skit. And he was on the show. All of them were on there.
No, he was the one who didn't show up. That's why Dave Chappelle played 𝐷𝗏𝗏.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that what happened?
You are correct. I stand corrected.
The rest of them showed up and actually were a part of the joke.
And we'll see. He probably should have showed up.
Exactly.
Then.
Okay.
And then he wouldn't be. He wouldn't feel like this. It's funny because I actually seen him downtown during Black Expo around the time that this happened. And when he walked past me, I said it 5 times.
𝐷𝗏𝗏. Because I spit hot fire.
Because I'm like, was that 𝐷𝗏𝗏? Like, because I was tripping out.
You literally said it 5 times?
I said it 5 times. And dude, he got down the street a little bit. He turned around and came back and dabbed me up and said respect and went on about his business. So it's like he almost had to own it. But at the same time, it goes back to this last conversation that we just had.
Say that.
Were you? I'm sorry. It kind of goes back to that last conversation. He should have struck while the iron was hot and kept doing what he was doing because he was still featured on that album and in that group.
True.
So he can't blame anybody else for his kids not eating because he still could have did what he had to do.
You're coming off a whole TV show.
Come on, man.
They've done a skit about you based off you. That was the funniest part.
Yeah.
Clearly, he knew about it because you just had a live example of him knowing the power of that. So he understood.
That's
he was
probably
aware.
why he was here because he wasn't with the band. You have to understand he has to take it both ways. Exactly. So he gained notoriety off of that particular clip, even though he wasn't in it. But everybody knew who 𝐷𝗏𝗏 was.
Let me ask you this, Lone. I don't want to change what you were about to say, but is there a certain level of responsibility for the DJs or the said people that were turning the music down? Do we look at them any different for buying into, okay, this is just a funny guy from the Chappelle skit? Should they have just put that to the side and just judged the music for what it was and just took his records and maybe tried to run them? Or, how do you feel about the DJ's part in this?
I would say that nobody really owes you anything.
So
the fact that he had an audience with them in any capacity is kind of amazing, I guess. But is this radio DJs? Do we know? Is it like?
I don't really think it matters, to be honest with you.
No, it's just period, like just submitting music, period.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day because did you enjoy it? You weren't a DJ. Did you go searching for any of 𝐷𝗏𝗏's music?
No.
Even before he was made an example on the skit?
No.
So that had no bearing on if you were going to listen to it or not.
I respect that.
The only person I cared about of that crew was
Chopper?
Ness.
I fool with Ness.
Ness was dope.
Ness was dope.
But like the skit is the reason why we know of Dylon.
Ooh.
I mean, let's just be. Let's be real.
The TV show plays
on the low, he might be right though.
I'm talking about like to the extent that people would maybe know of Dylon's name right now.
Yeah.
It's not because of making the band. It's because of Dave Chappelle skit, because people went back and watched Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and Dave Chappelle has never stopped being on Comedy Central or on whatever streaming service. Like, so there are people who still watch that who never saw Making the Band.
Yeah,
Who had no idea like that guy actually was a part of a group that album went gold.
And Dylon is probably the most popular character from
the band.
Making the Band.
Making the Band. I'm about to say Bringing Down the Band.
Shout out to Bringing Down the Band.
Based off of that Chappelle skit. You know what I'm saying? Even though he wasn't in it.
That's what I mean. Like that actually kind of like propelled him, I think, even higher at the time, because he became a pop culture phenomenon through Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not blaming it on Diddy. Everybody's blaming everything on Diddy right now. So
This would be a good time to go ahead and blame it.
Use him as a scapegoat on this one. So
what you think about this, Jay? In terms of how what he said?
Sometimes you got to strike while the iron is hot, even if it's not the iron that you want to be hot. If I was him, I'd have had T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, whatever. Just say Dylon, 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 and wherever I went, we'd have been slinging those T-shirts for $20 a pop and put some food in the refrigerator.
Yep.
You know,
people would have copped those too.
you know, even if it was for some, people bought Bart Simpson T-shirts and whatever, like whatever is popular, whether it makes sense or not, and whether you'd wear it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just want to have it to be part of that moment.
Even my shorts.
Yeah. So once again, you were on Bad Boy Records. All right.
Yeah.
Whether or not it worked out for you as an artist or a group, like Ness turned that into a whole writing career.
He did.
he also turned it into a cheesecake company.
Which is brilliant.
You know, so once again, that's not the iron maybe he wanted to be hot, but like if Ness turned it into a cheesecake company, he's able to feed himself and his family based on that. That's what you do.
Babs started a women's hip hop battle league.
Yeah. So
she took it and flipped it.
So I mean, these are just examples of what we were talking about in the previous segment.
Yeah.
I don't, and you went from having the apparatus that is, I believe, Atlantic, because that's who Bad Boy was with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Having them submit your music to DJs, and they weren't really feeling it then.
Right.
And then you just showing up, be like, hey, can you play this record? It's like, no. And where were you going to get your records played? Maybe you needed to partner with somebody who was up and coming, as opposed to taking it to Funkmaster Flex or whoever was the big DJ that you knew. It's like, no, they're not. They're under no obligation to play your record. Of course, you're going to think it's hot. Every artist who makes music, especially when they're trying to work on a commercial level, they think what they do is the hottest thing in the world. And it just isn't. They don't. And we've talked about how there's a whole machine and there's an apparatus to go ahead and make these things happen. And you're trying to do it independently at that time, where the major label system was still something that was very prevalent. Look, I get it, man. Maybe you're disappointed, but you're back here all these years later complaining about something that you didn't do.
But I still, with all that being said, there is probably merit to what he's saying to some degree, because he did become that caricature.
Yeah,
he became that. And I don't think I could tell you any of his songs or what they sound like.
I don't know anything other than what he was doing, trying to make the band, and maybe the features. But who's going back even checking for the Making the Band album?
I have the song "Bad Boy This, Bad Boy That" on my hard drive.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I think I have a CD somewhere, but I mean, I never transferred it over into MP3.
It goes doom 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 doom.
The album Too Hot for TV.
Yeah. I do have that Day 26 in my MP3 file.
That's a good album.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they dropped 2 projects that was good.
I don't know who that is.
That was the R&B group. That was on the next. That was on the next section of Making the Band.
They actually, but Lone, they actually put out. Some,
I put out Day 26 actually. Shout out to them.
Yeah,
they just came at the tail end of when I think they're damn near the last group, the R&B group.
Deals was probably trash, but they put out some good music.
Well, I mean, it was a Bad Boy deal. So
you're right.
Historically, those have been trash.
Did he do it or did he not?
I don't know. Did he? Boom, boom.
Well, shout out to Dylon, but
look, honestly, if he put out that shirt today,
man,
he'd probably be able to sell enough copies to really do something for himself, because once again, the Dave Chappelle skit has never gone away. We talked about Dion. We're not talking about anybody else in that group. Well,
What I'm saying, he's the most popular one.
yeah, I mean, honestly, that should have propelled him and put him in position to do something. But he wasn't. A lot of times you're not ready to receive.
He needs to come with a next tail chirp.
Sometimes you're not. Look, sometimes you're just not ready to receive your blessing when it is presented to you.
He wasn't prepared. In the sense, his proper preparations weren't
prevented his poor performance.
Yeah, it was the opposite of that.
And without the Dave Chappelle, would nobody your story would not be featured on the Breakfast Club.
Nah,
they haven't talked about any of the other members on the Breakfast Club, have they?
Ever?
Nope.
No.
You make the Breakfast Club, Jack, in 2024,
And
off of something that happened in 2005.
5-ish, yeah. Almost 20 years ago. And they talking about you right now. So that, to Terry's point, that's the power of that skit.
Hey man, you're part of pop culture.